All right, week 5, Sunday afternoon football. I just had wings for dinner. I got Sunday night football rolling here. We're back on the pod. This really is the life, man. Screw the all-inclusive vacations. Sundays, watching football is where you should be. You gotta love it, and that's why you're here. Back on the JV show with me, JV, to recap Sunday afternoon football from week 5 in the NFL. While you are here, go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, do your thing as you've been doing all year long. Before we get started, I do want to remind you I am sponsored this year by my friends over at Big Third Down Shop, who hooked me up with these really sick branded NFL hats, including this JV show one you see in almost every episode. The link is in my bio to shop those hats for literally every single NFL team, so go check them out. And without further ado, man, we got so much to discuss. Let's start Broncos-Eagles. Denver takes it 21 to Eagles 17. I think the first loss for Jalen Hurts as a starter in technically over a year's time. And I think absolutely every fan base in the league besides Philly is happy. Honestly, I haven't heard a negative report from anywhere besides Philly, which is hilarious. But really in the NFL, and I've said this time and time again, it's all about how you finish. You can have a few bad quarters to start, and obviously that matters in the grand scheme of things. But if you're clutch and you perform in the big moments at the end of the game, that usually defines the outcome. And I would say 90% of NFL games, because they're always going to be close. No matter how dominant you start, the Eagles dominated 7/8 of this football game, but at the end, in the fourth quarter, which offense was moving the ball? Denver. What defense stood strong? Denver. Who put up points when it mattered? Denver. And that was the story of the day. Denver wins it. Philly's first loss of the year. Let's talk some Bo Nix, man. I kind of got after Bo Nix last week or the week before about his performances because I think the Broncos are a good enough team to be a serious playoff threat. Not just a one and done, but win a game or two. But it really does depend on Bo Nix. And I get it. That's probably the case for a lot of NFL teams. Your quarterback's performance determines how far you go. But I think Denver, you think of how their team has been assembled. Defense is really good. They got a good run game. Offensive line is good. Their weapons are pretty solid. Bo Nix just has to ball out, and that's it. You can't miss open opportunities. Earlier in the game, missed a touchdown, I think, down the left sideline, over the top, completely missed his guy. There were a few times I thought during the game, intentional grounding. He got sacked out of field goal range. I mean, those were game-changing moments that I thought would define the game. Now, ended up being okay for the Broncos, but I think Bo Nix, as a quarterback, from what we expect, I think he's just got to be a little bit better. And that's going to determine this season. The Broncos, like I said, good team, but it all depends on Bo Nix. Bo Nix can make or break Denver's season. Straight up. Today, 24 of 39, 241 yards, 1 touchdown. We need consistency. Like I said, there's too many missed opportunities weekly from Bo Nix. And as the game progressed, he got a lot better. Started getting in his groove. Once they got the run game moving, the pass game just started to gel. Started to find Evan Ingram on that final drive. Put the ball in the end zone. That was huge. I think the good from his game today, the fight from behind was impressive. He ended the game really strong. He remained composed despite the lead that Philly had, and there were no turnovers. That's phenomenal. That was great. You put up 21 points, you win a big-time game. That's huge. But the bad, like I said, you can't have that intentional grounding. The second one could have been easily called. I know there was a guy in the vicinity of the pass, but that just can't happen, especially at that moment in the game. Luckily not called. The sack that pulled him out of field goal range, and the inconsistency with his arm. If you want to go far in the playoffs, You got to play near perfect football. And unfortunately, that's just the case. Even on great teams like Philly, you need perfect football from Jalen Hurts down the stretch to win games in the playoffs against better defenses, against stronger teams. You need consistency. And that's all I'm asking from Bo Nix. Look, shout out Bo Nix, Evan Ingram, run game today, Cortland Sutton. They played great. But from a quarterbacking perspective, this all relies on Bo Nix. It really does. If he can step up, and he stepped up later on last year as the season progressed, we saw him get better and better. I anticipate that's what we see as this year goes on. But I think he really just makes or breaks this team. And they got the defense to do it. They got the talent to do it. They got the team to go far. They got the coaching staff to go far. Can Bo Nix deliver on a consistent basis? With all that being said, the Denver Broncos proved they're a dark horse team. Straight out. I said it to start the season. I truly believe it. I think they're a very well put together and structured team. The defense is a top 3 unit in football. They're allowing 17 points per game. That's it. That's really, really good. Offense's identity is the run game. J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey won them the game against Philly. Down the stretch, that's what opened up the offense. That's how they got the ball moving in the fourth quarter. Coaching is excellent. Vance Joseph, one of the top DCs in the league, and Sean Payton is an offensive genius. That 2-point conversion play, that call, finding Keely Ringo in one-on-one coverage, you got the matchup you want, you fire it in the end zone, you go up 18-17, rest is history. Passing game needs to find life. They started getting rolling later in the game, but it needs to be consistent. Like I just said, lean on Cortland Sutton, lean on Evan Ingram, and they need a breakout player from Marvin Mims or Troy Franklin. Somebody needs to step up and be the dominant number 2. But on the good side, on the absolute positive side, that was Philly's first loss this season. The first loss Jalen Hurts has had as a starter in technically over a year. That's an impressive, grinding W from the Denver Broncos. So that's a good sign from a team that started off a little bit shaky. I think there's a lot of hope there considering how shaky the AFC is starting to look. I mean, the Ravens, they're at 1-4. Anything can happen now. Any team is in the playoff picture at this point. As for the Eagles, and I get it, a lot of fans will be heated. I don't think this is anything to overreact about, really. You've been a dominant team for a year and a half now. Like, nobody's been able to mess with you. You lose one game, it happens. No need to freak out and bash the refs. Were there some questionable calls? For sure. It happens. Goes both ways. But I don't think they need to freak out. The one thing people will do, and I don't agree with, is blame Jalen Hurts. Of course, do not blame Jalen Hurts for this Philly offense. Please. If you're going to do anything, blame Kevin Patullo. Do not blame Jalen Hurts. Hurts had one of his most impressive passing days of his career. 23 of 38, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. For all 4 quarters, Jalen Hurts played lethal football with his arm. 57-yard bomb to Smitty over Riley Moss early in the game. Leads to a touchdown. 50-yard touchdown in the second half to Barkley on a wheel route. Perfect 4th down ball when the game was on the line to Smitty, and the penalty took the completion back. Broncos ended up winning the game. Jalen Hurts did all he could today to find a way to win. He did all he could on a final drive with the game on the line, and somehow people will still find a way to blame him. He's got a top 3 deep ball in football. The way he lays it out there, he finds his guys. We saw it with Smitty. We saw it with A.J. Brown a few weeks ago. We saw it with Barkley today. The crazy thing about Hurts, he's had a new OC every single year of his NFL career, and I believe in the broadcast they said every single year since his senior year of high school. That is a lot to deal with. I don't care who you are. I don't care what players you're dealing with. That is like 10 to 12 new systems you've had to adapt to up to this point. Credit to Jalen Hurts. Because for 4 weeks now, people have bashed his arm, and today he showed us he can pass the ball. And he has shown it in the past. I'm not saying that today was the first time that we finally need to give him some applause. We've known he's got that arm. But today, again, silence the people that said he can't pass the rock. Almost 300 yards, few great touchdowns. It was great. As far as the play calling goes, hell yeah, there's a problem. Kevin Patullo is coaching to lose his job. Right now, it's brutal. We've yet to get a consistent game. 4 quarters of football out of Kevin Patullo. It's bad. There are flashes of brilliance, but he gets way too comfortable with the lead. And what I didn't understand about today is I get that A.J. Brown is frustrated. I get that Smitty is frustrated. But why is it all or nothing with Kevin Patullo? I don't get it. It is all or nothing with this guy. You either run the ball all game or you pass the ball all game. There's no in between. There's no balance with him. And the offense becomes way too predictable when they pass 40 times. Because the passing schemes are pretty much the same. Curl routes, slants, or fades. That's all he's got. They're going 3 and out on back-to-back drives in the most important part of the game. They're forcing deep shots. They had a 2-score lead, and they bailed on what was working. They bailed on the bluffs, the flat passes, the part of the game that opened up the big Saquon Barkley 50-yard touchdown. You have to close out games and put up points and put your foot on their neck and frickin' demolish them in the big moments. When you got the lead, you got to put them away. And that's been multiple times this year that they haven't. And they've lucked out, for sure. But what we absolutely can't have is Kevin Patullo picking his nose on the sidelines, hoping to God that Hurts or Barkley or A.J. Brown can just make something happen. It's not going to happen. The offense is going consistently stale every single game. That's 3 games this year under 25 points. Absolutely unacceptable. This is a consistent 30-point offense. I don't care what you got going on, what defense you're going up against. That's embarrassing. You got to be better. And I'm sure everybody in Philly is saying the same thing right now. They are. Because Philly as a team, they are still number 1. They are still the best team in the league. I firmly believe it. 1 loss against a pretty good Denver Broncos team doesn't change that. But the one thing I've said for eternity with this Eagles team, the Eagles are their own worst enemy. And it's been like that for a very long time. And they learned that lesson early when they started 2-2 last year. Now they got to learn it again. They beat themselves against the Broncos. They handed them the win in the 4th quarter. Literally. Patullo, Sirianni, the team, they brought out this gold platter and they handed it to Sean Payton and said, here you go. Here's a W for facing us in the 4th quarter because we don't want to play. We don't want to play call. We don't want to put points on the board. We don't want to get first downs. And we're going to let you run all over us. Despite having played great defense for 7/8 of the game, here's your W. 5 pre-snap penalties. Let me say that again. 5 pre-snap penalties offensively. Eliminating 4th down conversions. These are self-inflicted errors. 9 total penalties. Zach Bond had a bad penalty that extended a drive for the Broncos. Like, there are so many things to blame. This is the best team in football. If they play a perfect game, they win. Nobody at their best is better than Philly. But you must close out games. You cannot give life to the other team. You cannot play down to the level of your opponent. You must trample over them when you're up. You must put them away early in the game and give them no life to inch their way back. Because the Broncos, again, for 80% of the game were dominated. For 90% of the game were dominated. But all they needed was a few drives, and it was a loss for Philly. So full credit to Denver for staying with it, for keeping that positive mindset and battling back. But that loss is on Philly. Philly decided they wanted to lose the game today, and that's on them. It's not on the refs. Quit the blame on the refs. I'm tired of that shit. This was bound to happen. The games I've watched from Philly, they deserve to lose at least one of them. They need to clean things up. Good for Denver. I think they're a good team moving forward. Let's transition to Indianapolis Colts 40, Las Vegas Raiders 6. Man, what a blowout. I think it's a product of the Colts being a good team and the Raiders being shit. Honestly, it's as simple as that. And Daniel Jones continues to have an amazing, phenomenal year. Daniel Jones has been a top 3 AFC quarterback this season. Straight out. He's playing unbelievable football. 20 of 29, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. His decision-making is grade A. He's making quick reads, understanding concepts and what the offense is doing. He's making tight window throws. He's lethal down in the red zone. He's making plays, extending drives with his legs. Absolutely everything he's touching is gold. He's King Midas out there. It is crazy to see a quarterback that almost everyone counted out. Almost everyone laughed at when he was brought in to compete with Anthony Richardson as one of the worst quarterback rooms in football, and he is now balled out for 5 straight weeks. Even against the Rams, I thought he played a pretty good game. I don't think this is a fluke anymore. Maybe it could have been after week 1, week 2, week 3, but this is now 5 weeks of football where Daniel Jones is picking apart every single defense he goes against. And some of them, for sure, haven't been the best in the league. But last week against the Rams, I thought he played not too bad. Despite the 2 interceptions, despite the loss, I still thought it was a pretty great game from Daniel Jones, BB+. And the rest have been AA+. He's playing phenomenal football. Jonathan Taylor and that Colts O-line is why they're really winning, though. They are why they are really winning. JT is having an offensive player of the year caliber season. He looks great. He has since he entered the league. He had that one monster year, and now he's back at it. And this offensive line, you saw them pulling absolutely everyone today. Guard, center. Who cares? They were dominating at the line of scrimmage. In the red zone, those big fellas were moving. Quentin Nelson, holy smokes, man. That's a scary sight. To be a little DB out there, your legs are shaking, and then you see Quentin Nelson peel in the corner, doing my cross and I'm out of there. I swear to you, it's scary. It's a scary sight, man. Those big offensive linemen, some of the most athletic people you'll ever meet. It's crazy. The way that they move, the speed at which they move, their agility to be that big and moving like that, unreal. And I thought this year, with them losing, 2 or 3 of their starting offensive linemen, 2 for sure that went to the Vikings, I didn't know how they would look. But they have been a cornerstone of the success in Indianapolis through 5 games. They're giving Daniel Jones time in the pocket. They're creating huge holes for Jonathan Taylor. And they're a big reason why this Colts team has succeeded up to this point. I said it last week with Steven on Monday Night Football Recap. I'll say it again. The Colts have proven they're a playoff threat. Daniel Jones has looked incredible. Offensive line and JT have been excellent. Like I just mentioned, nothing short of it. They got some underrated weapons. Tyler Warren, Josh Downs, Michael Pittman Jr., the list goes on. And the defense has been pretty incredible, forcing turnovers, getting to the quarterback. Yes, these are gimme matchups, but even against the Rams, they should have won that game, shot themselves in the foot. This is a team that could go very far in the playoffs. They're 4-1 for a very good reason. I think this is one of the most deserving 4-1 records I have seen from a team in a very long time. They've been playing phenomenal, flat out phenomenal football. Then you look at the Raiders, and it is quite literally the exact opposite. Geno Smith looks terrible. I mean, I think my grandma could go out there and do better. Like, it's really bad. He's thrown 9 interceptions in 5 games this year. He threw 2 against the Colts. He's missing layup throws. He's not completing on the must-haves in the big moments when they're there, because there are very few big moments for this team because they're down all the time. It's brutal drive after brutal drive. The fan base has already given up on him. And you're almost certain that they're drafting a quarterback with their draft position this year, because they're probably a bottom 5 team in football right now. And the ironic thing, and we'll get into it, the irony of the situation, Sam Darnold in Seattle looks like night and day compared to Geno Smith. I mean, it's not even close to the level of quarterback play. I am stunned that people were convinced Geno would take the Raiders to the playoffs. Hell no. Hell no. Like, it's not happening. Drafting Genty was a mistake. I'll say it and say it again. Offensive line sucks. Defense is nowhere near good. And the quarterback play is just not there. It's well below average. Geno looks bad. The Raiders look bad. Shout out Pete Carroll for coming back to coach. But this is a failed operation. They need to scrap, rebuild, start from the ground up. Let's move over to Cowboys, Jets. A few games here we're going to blaze through. Not much to talk about with the Cowboys and the Jets. 37 to the Jets, 22. Cowboys with another win. All I want to talk about is Dak, man. I love supporting quarterbacks that get a lot of hate for no reason. Dak is one of those guys. Dak Prescott is playing MVP football this year. He really is. You look at the stats, the eye test he passes, the stats he passes. It's great. This is some of the best ball Dak Prescott has played in his career. 247 yards today, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions against the Jets. The bomb to George Pickens was unreal. He's throwing with confidence all over the football field. The offense has been on fire for 2 straight weeks without CeeDee Lamb now. And a big part of that has been the run game. This run game was supposed to be brutal, bottom 5. But that's been a game changer. Having Javonte Williams, who went for 135 yards and a touchdown against the Jets, who's had, I believe, multiple games above 85 rushing yards, above 90 rushing yards this year. That's been the big reason why he succeeded. Because we expected it all to be on the shoulders of Dak, but it's not. If Javonte can keep moving like that, if they get CeeDee Lamb back, this offense ain't half bad. They're actually pretty good. They put up 40 points against the Packers, 37 this week against the Jets. They're moving, and Dak Prescott deserves praise. Coming off the season-ending injury at his age, I think this is his, 10th year in the NFL, let's say? He looks phenomenal. He looks really good. Too bad the Cowboys didn't have a little bit better of a defense. Maybe just a little bit more. Like, they could be a real threat. Now, we know the history of Dak in the playoffs. It hasn't been all great. We know what Jerry Jones has been. He has failed this franchise time and time again recently. But I think this year, whatever happens after this, it's been a success up to this point. For sure. If they can go 500, 9-8 to end the year, that's a win. I mean, we expected the Cowboys to be brutal, bottom of the barrel. And Dak's been a big reason why they've succeeded, why they've been playing some pretty good football. Defense was actually shockingly pretty good today. I mean, it is the New York Jets, and they still put up 22 points against you. But Dak consistently this year has been great. Shout out to him. Let's go to Saints 26, Giants 14. Another game we're going to rip through real quick before we get to Bucs, Seahawks, and finish with Commanders, Chargers here. Saints, Giants. Oh, it was brutal. It really was. It was a tough watch for the New York Giants. Started out really good, ended pretty bad. The Giants beat themselves this week. No excuses. That was a horrendous second half performance. The offense started on fire, but it fizzled out in the second half. 5 turnovers will almost always lose you the game in the NFL. You got to protect the ball. That is the number one priority in these close games. Jackson Dart missed a wide open flea flicker touchdown, fumbled the ball untouched, which was terrible. The interceptions, they were all right. One of them was on a 4th down, so it was essentially a punt into the opponent's red zone, right? So it was a punt, right? No big deal there. But it was just bad all around. Scattaboo had a really bad fumble in the red zone. Like, credit to the Saints. Kellen Moore, Spencer Rattler, first win of their careers. Couldn't believe it when I heard that stat. That was Spencer Rattler's first win as a starter for the Saints. But man, was that a winnable game for the Giants. They kicked themselves over and over. They did not want to win the game. They had opportunity after opportunity, and they just refused to take it. And the sad thing is, I just don't understand it. I don't know how you go from beating the Chargers in a close game, in a dogfight, to losing to the Saints, who could have easily gone winless this year. Seriously, they might go 1-15 or 1-16. They might be that bad. Like I said, Rattler was 0-10 as a starter up to this point. Kellen Moore was winless. How does this happen? Seriously. Oh, it was a brutal watch. It really was. I thought the Giants were absolutely going to dominate. It looked like that early. Theo Johnson was balling with Jackson Dart. And then just a complete collapse. It was a tough game. Tough watch. Let's do Bucs 38, Seahawks 35. Here's the meat of the episode. This was Brady versus Manning. This was a prime freaking shootout, man. Mayfield looked incredible. Sam Darnold looked incredible. What a phenomenal game on Sunday afternoon. Like, honestly, it was just back and forth. Let's talk Sam Darnold first. Sam Darnold played elite top 5 football for 59 minutes. 59 minutes, not 60. 60 would have been a perfect game, but 59 minutes. In the moment he couldn't turn over the ball, he did. This was an unreal performance from Sam Darnold. Without a doubt, the future for the Seahawks. He was 28 of 34, 340 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. But sometimes you need to be perfect in the NFL to win. You can't close out games. You can't close out a performance like that with a costly interception and a loss. Because it taints the memory of the performance. You'll always remember a pretty good game from Sam Darnold, but an interception that handed the Seahawks a loss. It's sad because we won't remember this legacy game from Darnold as much as we would have if they won. And that's got to fall on his shoulders just a little bit. It was a bad pick. Off a Bucs helmet, right into the hands of the linebacker, I think it was. After parading down the field after a huge completion in the red zone to go up 35-28 to end the game like that is gut-wrenching. But with that being said, Darnold had the game of his life. He responded to every Baker Mayfield touchdown. That JSN bomb was unreal. Horton touchdown with the guy latched onto him was incredible. Now you just got to finish. JSN this year has been phenomenal. He's the number one in Seattle. I think they might have been worried when they let go of DK, Tyler Lockett. What's going to happen? You got JSN. You got a number one for at least 5 to 7 years now. 132 yards today, 1 touchdown. Like I said, now you just got to finish. Without a doubt, Sam Darnold is the future for Seattle. And you look at the switch from Darnold and Geno. You switch from Geno Smith over to Las Vegas, which we just talked about, and you bring in Sam Darnold. Wow. Talk about a huge upgrade from Geno Smith. You can roll with Sam Darnold for at least 5, 6 more years as a top, great, B-tier quarterback, sometimes performing at an A-tier level like he did for the most part today for, like I said, 5, 6, 7 years. But unfortunately, on the other side of the ball, you had an even better quarterback. You had an even better team. And this was a dogfight. But Baker freaking Mayfield. Baker Mayfield. Say it with me. Baker Mayfield is playing like an all-pro. This guy's a baller. I want his jersey. Those creamsicle jerseys that the Bucs have come out with, the white, the red, that orange, holy smokes. And the Seahawks look sweet today too. The matchup was great. The jerseys were great. The finish was great. Phenomenal day. But Baker Mayfield, man, every week he gets more clutch. In the big moments, you can always count on Baker. 88% completion percentage, 380 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was on fire. Literally, cool him off. Get the fire extinguisher. Let's go. Like, come on, man. Baker Mayfield. Here to win. This is a championship-level quarterback. This is championship-level stuff from Baker Mayfield. Escaping the pocket, eyes downfield, extending drives by pure willpower. It's all in the mind for him. He wants it bad. And you can see it when you're watching him play. How about the strike to Emeka Egbuka in the end zone or downfield for the huge gain? End zone shot to Shepard. I mean, this is historic shit from Baker Mayfield. I cannot believe that the Browns gave up on him. I cannot believe that the Panthers gave up on him. I can't believe the Panthers gave up on both Baker and Sam Darnold. And I like Bryce Young, but you could have had a guy for the future if you had just played your cards right and built the roster and not neglected good quarterbacks that were in your system that most people wrote off. The Bucs and the Seahawks have found their guys. And that's because other teams refused to spend a little bit of time and build around them. Now it's paying off for the Bucs. And a big reason why Mayfield has had so much success this year. And he's been doing crazy things with his arm. But Emeka Egbuka, ladies and gentlemen, give Emeka Egbuka the Rookie of the Year right now. That was complete class from Egbuka. He has been dominating since week 1. 163 yards, 1 touchdown. What a day. Back-to-back 100-yard games. He's got 5 touchdowns on the season already. We're at week 5, by the way. He's doing this all in a crowded receiver room with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Tej Johnson, Shepard, and the great backfield they got. He's lethal in the red zone. The number one option in this offense to score right now is Emeka Egbuka. The route running is just an A+. I mean, the Bucs got their guy for the future. This is the number one in Tampa Bay for the next decade. He has impressed me beyond words. And going into the season, we heard the praise from Todd Bowles, from Baker, from Mike Evans. We heard the rumors, the murmurs, and now we're seeing it play out on live television right in front of us. Have a day, have a start to your career. He won, I think, Offensive Rookie of the Month. Give it to him again. What a performance. He's been a huge reason and a huge contributor to this Bucs season and to their success. And as for the Bucs, before we flip to Commanders-Chargers here to finish the episode, they're playing championship football. It's not just Baker, it's this team. I know they lost last week to Philly. I know that was a tough pill to swallow for them because they did get dominated besides a few miracle touchdowns from Baker down the field. I think he threw 2 70-yard bombs for touchdowns. It was a bad game overall. But the Bucs can bank on the fact that there's a lot of grit, there's a lot of drive and willpower, and I want it on this team. They're winning close games. They're closing out in the clutch. Baker is performing at an all-pro level. They got weapons galore on offense. The run game is moving. They got 2 really good backs, Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. The defense is solid. They can come up big when it matters. But the thing I love most about this team is they're closing out games when it matters. That's the big part. Because in the NFL, naturally, there will be close games. Almost always, you're going to get 1-score games. 3 points, 6 points, 7 points, 8 points. It's important to win in the clutch. And that's what the Bucs have been doing so far all year. Commanders 27, Chargers 10. I already know what's coming. You know, you watch the games, and especially from my perspective, because I'm always on social media, and I'm always listening to the different talk shows and hearing what they got to say, because I think it's important, right? You listen to what people are saying, try not to buy into the BS narratives, but inevitably they come around the social media feed. And you just know, like, when the Eagles lose, Jalen Hurts is going to get slandered, right? It's inevitable. You know, when the Niners lose, something's going to be said about Brock Purdy. When the Chargers lose, something is always said about Justin Herbert. Sometimes it's positive and people support him, they back him, but sometimes it's really negative. All right? Herbert threw a bad pick, but we're not blaming him for the loss. Let's make that very, very clear. Okay? Because there are 2 different types of people. There's 2 very far ends of the spectrum when assessing Justin Herbert. On one side, there are the truthers. I would consider myself leaning more towards the truther side. They see the evident talent. They see the promise. They see the arm talent. They see the mobility. They see the leadership. They see Justin Herbert taking over games. And they include him in top 8, top 5 quarterback discussions, regardless of the playoff BS people spew. On the other side, it's the haters. It's the people that say, is he even a top 10 quarterback? Can he win a big game? Why doesn't he perform in the playoffs? Yada, yada, yada. We're not blaming the loss today on Justin Herbert. Let's say it together. Herbert has 0 offensive line. Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, both out. It is a disaster. I think the Commanders had 5 sacks today, and they pressured him all day long. He's doing everything he can. He's making jaw-dropping throws. He's leading the team in rushing yards, making excellent passes. Yes, okay, there was a bad goal line interception. It was tipped by the D-line, ended up going the other way. Tough. Tough blow. But even if he scores with the way the Chargers looked, the O-line, the defense, the penalties today, they weren't winning the game. Like, let's be totally honest. The problems in LA stem a lot further than a Justin Herbert interception. I promise you. 10 penalties, 85 yards for the Chargers today. They erased a Ladd McConkey touchdown right before half, and the Commanders went up and put 3 on the board, tied the game at 10-10 going into halftime. The penalties are stalling drives. There is no protection. Quentin Johnston decides to fumble a perfect ball over the middle. Defense ends up falling apart at the end. How can you blame Justin Herbert? How? Because he threw 1 interception. Come on, guys. This is a team sport. We evidently have seen the talent, the arm capabilities, the leadership, the skill Justin Herbert possesses. Let's not let 1 interception, one small mistake in a bad game from a Chargers aspect ruin our thoughts on Justin Herbert this year. He's playing phenomenal football. He's doing all he can. And maybe he's not a top 5 quarterback. Maybe he's top 8. I think highly of Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts, and who else would you have in that discussion? Matthew Stafford, whoever else you got there. But come on, guys. Justin Herbert's there. All right, we're not going to let a bad O-line, poor mistakes all day long, and a bad interception now play into this narrative that, Justin Herbert really isn't that guy. We need Jaden Daniels over Justin Herbert. Jaden Daniels outplayed Justin Herbert. Therefore, he's a better quarterback. That's actually not how it works. This actually isn't tennis, all right? Just because Jalen Hurts outperformed Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl doesn't mean he's a better quarterback. That's actually not how this works. I'm sorry if I had to clarify that. Come on. And I don't mean to hate on Jaden Daniels there either. That's not a dig on him. Jaden Daniels is beating these sophomore slump allegations. He looks phenomenal. Healthy Jaden Daniels makes a case for the top 10 quarterback discussion in the NFL. For sure. Probably in there. 15 of 26 today. 231 yards. 40 on the ground. 1 touchdown. The ball right before half to Luke McCaffrey was a thing of beauty. That gave them 3 points. Tied the game up, and the rest was history. He dominated the second half against that Chargers defense. The touchdown pass to Debo was unreal. Backpedaling back to the end zone. Great ball. He's a pocket passer, but he's elusive, and he's got a great arm. He's a top 3 dual threat quarterback in football, and he is the future for the Commanders. That was the most points scored this season against a strong Chargers defense. He took over in the second half with Bill, who had 111 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He had a phenomenal day. He's having a phenomenal breakout season. But Jaden Daniels, man, beast. Beast. But back to Herbert to end the episode, which is where this was all coming from here. I understand. You see the playoff losses. You crumble against Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. You throw 4 interceptions last year against the Texans. Understood. Not perfect. Not even good. But I urge you to please understand the context of the situation, because Justin Herbert has not had very much help for his entire career. And he's doing everything he can. If he had a better roster, like Phillies, for example, if he had, I don't know, maybe a healthy 49ers roster, he could have 2, 3, 4 Super Bowls now. Seriously. The talent is there. And when we rank quarterbacks, I think it might have been Darius Slay I heard the other day talking about it online. You have to take context and team structure and coaching and a lot of things into account. And situation, it all matters. You can't just say, well, this guy doesn't win in the playoffs, so he's therefore worse. Or this guy threw a bad interception, so he's therefore worse. No. It's a bigger picture thing. Jaden Daniels had an incredible rookie season. Respectfully, I'm not taking him over Justin Herbert. I'm just not. I'm not. End of show. Period. I appreciate you for rocking with me right to the end. That was 45 minutes of great football talk. Tomorrow night, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. Hopefully, going to recap a few games from today, more notably Ravens-Texans. Okay, I got a lot to say about that, but I saved it for tomorrow. I want to balance out the episodes here. And as well, Cardinals-Titans. I got a lot to say about that game too. Stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the episode. If you're still here, please subscribe, please like, please comment. I appreciate all of it. As always, thank you. Stay safe. I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace out.